good job answering the questions. I kind of gave them more. Are you on video?
It's on.
Okay. So, just after coaching or co-teaching with us, where are you guys at? How did they do? So, we finished document F today, and we started talking about the buckets. We did not label the buckets yet, but we read over what they were supposed to do. We kind of talked about and looked back at their old buckets and what they labeled them before, and we were comparing kind of what they're going to label their new buckets. So we were at that, but we finished all the documents. So they stopped at document F.
And how did they do with the pictures and the
these Hurricane Katrina, this one was not available online.
Really?
So because I looked at both documents that they had and they were not there.
And it's horrible to see.
I know, and that's why I'm like, so what I did was, in place of this, I pulled up a video of a storm surge so I could show them what it looked like. Just so that way, because I couldn't show them the picture in color, I felt bad. So I was like, okay, like I found like Hurricane Ian storm surge. And just so they could see what it looked like with all the water rushing in, coming in, because we were trying to talk about the difference between a storm surge and then just like regular inland flooding.
Okay.
So it kind of gave them a better idea of what happens with the storm surge compared to just normal lakes and stream flooding.
Yeah.
So, and they enjoyed
it. That's a great strategy.
Yeah. Way to roll with it.
Yeah.
And they liked it.
They're
like, that just happened. I'm like, yeah, I know, guys, like, it just happened. So they thought it was interesting, and they were like, whoa, like, look at the water hit the camera and everything. So, but the rest of the pictures were available. So I did get to show them the color, and it obviously it did well with them being able to see, because I know this one and this one is extremely hard to see.
Yeah.
So
Well, even the first one was
Even
even the front of the packet, like,
Yeah.
so, but we just pulled them up online, even though the questions weren't the same. I just showed them the picture, and then we just went through the questions on our own, because the questions just didn't match up with the ones online. But they already kind of had a good feeling of all of this. They kind of understood it a little because they went through something like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you? How did your kids do?
We just finished document D today, so we're moving a little slower.
It's your first time doing this.
Yes.
So no, it's totally
very
you're
nice.
fine. Yep.
And they're having fun, and they're really digging into it. It's funny that you mentioned that you pulled the videos, because when we were on C, it shows like a house, and it's almost all the way up to the roof. And they were like, how does that happen? And come to find out, one of my students for Ian they went to Northport to pick up their grandmother to bring her for safety, and they got stuck. And he's like, this scares me. He's like, this reminds me of because like kids were saying like, oh, we can stay and swim. And he's like, no, you can't. Like, it comes fast. He's like, we saw it. And so we watched a time-lapse video of Northport, and they're like, it can come up. How does it come up? And then we got to talking about it. Another cool thing that we got into, the last question always asks, according to this document, what's one major reason? I think it's like preparing them for like their final buckets and why hurricanes are so dangerous. And at first, for B and C, they were kind of like going off of A. They would keep bringing back A. I was like, no, guys, you have to this document. So they are really getting picky with what they were saying then. Like, so today when we got to D, I was like, all right, pretend you use this document as a source for information in your essay. You need to make sure that if you say, according to document D, so-and-so happens, that it actually is on document D. So they were able to actually do it this time, is back up. Most of them went through and circled because we were down to like the last minute.
Yeah.
They were doing like circled the picture. So I think it's good that they're learning like how to actually source their evidence and not just like pull whatever they want out of anywhere and say that so-and-so said it.
Right.
Well, and that was a good point with, no, not this article, not the first
Yeah.
article, but this article.
Yep. And
That
that's probably going to
helps.
help with their bucketing to really.
I like how, and I like how you see that progression of them learning. Like you said, document A and B, they like, or you can see they kept wanting to go, but when they got to D, they're like, okay, we get it now.
This one has really nice handwriting. Holy cow.
What did you guys
Maria.
What did you guys
do
think
that.
about making the like kind of predicted buckets? Because I know that's what you and I did when we did it, and I don't know how you guys. What did you guys think about that? Have you done that with them before, where they made those predictions?
Well, she hasn't, because this is her first.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
that's
true.
her first
Okay,
time.
that's true.
I mean, I didn't.
So yeah,
but
so
I did.
okay.
But it was very interesting because they hit heavy winds
Oh, yeah.
like nothing. That was, and then they kept saying like rising waters.
Yes. A lot of flooding.
I feel like they- yeah.
So getting it to flooding or something along those
Trying to
lines.
guide them towards that.
Yep, and then the storm surge was the other one.
Yes.
They weren't there.
They weren't
No.
there. I feel like they did win.
Yeah.
And then they had like floods and something else to do with the water,
Yeah.
but not the storm.
Wind, rain, and
Yeah,
floods are what they wanted
storm
to
surge
keep
was
saying.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
a lot of
two
strong
separate,
air.
Which I think is a good like a way to dive into that teaching point, how those can tie together. And that's going to be one bucket.
Yes.
And that's probably going to be a really good way to show them that. Yeah. Because when does it go into the storm? What document is storm surge?
I think it's the last
Document
one.
E and document F talk
So
about
the
storm
last,
surge.
Yeah.
the last
So
fill me
it's
in
nice
and
that they
then
don't-
to see if yours catch that.
I'm thinking they will, because like you said, like talking about how it ties in, I've been trying to get them to realize that more. I'm like, all right, what is causing the flooding? What is all it's the rains and that, So we've been talking about kind of like cause and effect too a lot with it.
Okay.
So that's been really good.
That's perfect.
And we were talking about with the reasons, the why.
Yes.
And it needed to be the reasons.
Mhm.
I saw that on that video that we watched in advance.
They have to know the why of it.
Also, for document E, it does ask like explain differences between what's happening in the picture of document C and the picture of here. And document C is the flooding. Document E
Oh,
is the
that'll
storm
help.
surge. So that's where 'cause I
Yeah.
was like, guys, like
that's
think
important.
about it, because I'm like, look at the picture here and look at the picture here. What are the differences between these? And then they kind of were like, oh, like this is coming from like the ocean.
Yeah.
Like it's like waves coming in, and I'm like, yeah, it's gonna flood, but the flooding with inland is coming from like the lakes and the streams. So
Good conversation.
and they did. They started to understand it more and be like, okay, those are two different things. I'm like, yeah. So and the fact that how powerful a storm surge is.
Or go find the video. I know you guys have probably seen it where the water sucks out before you know it's like
Yes.
you get in the storm. Like people
Was it
like they're
Tampa?
Yeah,
Tampa
it
probably
does
had
have
something
it,
with
yeah.
these. What? Maybe I can look that up.
just to show them
Yeah.
before storm surge, like what
How it's
the
completely
water is
gone.
just like where to go, and all of a sudden it's like, I think it was like Bay to Bay or something in Tampa that they had.
I remember
Like,
people were
yeah,
walking on
walking
it.
on it.
Yeah, I remember
That would
that.
be a cool one to show.
That would be neat to show.
Yeah.
And the differences and why we didn't get hit as hard because it was drawn out.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
it could have been way worse.
Right.
It didn't get pulled out.
That's what we were explaining. Like we talked about it with the kids because we relate a lot of it back to Hurricane Ian, just because they're like that's what they relate
Most
to.
recent one, yeah.
And that's what they were like, oh, because I showed them Fort Myers and I showed them the hurricanes, like the storm surge with that. And they were just like, that was supposed to hit us. And I'm like, yeah, I'm like, it could have. I'm like, and I explained to them how quickly storms change routes because they're always because they were like, why did Hurricane Katrina, why was it so devastating? Because we talked about Hurricane Katrina and I'm like, because they weren't expecting it. Like, that's why it's so important to, be prepared. So it's also, I loved this one because it is talking to them about something that they can relate to and something that could possibly help them in the future. Because then they're going to know if a hurricane's coming, you might want to get to high ground or go somewhere away from the storm because storm surge is a really real thing and it's scary. That's it. So, and that's
especially out east, that whole that's storm surge, but they didn't know that. The River. Like that wasn't really something.
And
came
even
out of nowhere.
Daytona, how much
Yeah.
it got
Oh,
on
yeah.
the backside of it.
Yeah.
All right, so where do you guys plan on heading from here then tomorrow?
So I know
Bucketing?
you're
You're gonna
I'm
finish up?
bucketing. You have two finishing.
Yeah, I still have.
So we like a day off. That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to be on the exact same day because you can do more time for editing and
Yeah.
stuff afterwards. Then you won't have maybe not this one so much editing.
And we talked about editing today too, because we for benchmark in our core class, we did for our writing component today was about editing. So that was because we're starting to see a shift in our buckets. A lot of our buckets was like the flooding, the rain. Like, oh, so here's stuff that I can put in that bucket, but it doesn't fit in this one. It's the storm surge one that there's nothing open in there. So, and we were like, okay, well,
Well, tomorrow
we
they
can
should know.
always go
Oh,
back.
yeah.
Yes, I'm excited for that. And I was like, well, we can always go back and edit just like we did in class. Like you can, this is your first draft, like your first draft buckets. So it was cool to be able to tie that in too. And shout out to DBQ because they had some math in here today.
Yes, we did have one. They did do math.
Yeah.
They have to add stuff up.
Yeah.
So we did it as a class. So we added.
They got it like boom. I was so shocked. I was like, this is great.
They
That-
brought it to
that
us.
was cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because the kids were like, wait a minute. I'm like, what type of math are we going to do this? Division. I'm like,
Mhm.
yeah, good job, guys.
It was great. There was a lot of math in it actually. So that was cool.
Oh, what, reading it out?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. In a fun way because they love this.
Yeah, I know. They do like
That was a good choice.
Then we can follow up, maybe next Wednesday, they'll be towards like the end of their, actual writing of the
Yeah.
essay. Then, I know you right, you were not gonna start a new one before.
I don't think so.
No, I would
this
say
one's
no.
supposed to take
Yeah.
us. Yeah.
Yeah.
This one should
We
take
take
you
you
a
there.
while.
If anything, I would say if we finish early, maybe do something tied to like the holiday.
Like you did with Thanksgiving.
Yes,
Mhm.
yeah, like I did,
Yeah.
I had kids look up, or even for Halloween, I think I did it. I was like, look up different, how people celebrate Halloween differently. So they looked up like Mexico, like for the Day of the Dead and stuff like that. Interesting
Yeah.
facts they can actually find.
Yeah, different
So-
holidays around this time of year,
Yes.
that'd be really
Mhm.
good.
Good one.
So
Yeah,
maybe we
that
can do
would be
something
good.
like that. We can
Yeah.
get together too and discuss it.
Yeah.
That way we can figure out what they could be doing, because I know there's so many ideas that we could really do with them, because they enjoy it.
They do.
They like researching. I feel like they really do like to go and like find the facts.
Yeah.
And I think, so my class, apparently they did, the last one with the previous teacher, they did on the computer. So when I told them, I was like, okay, after Christmas, a little bit, into January, February, we're going to start like introducing the computer. And they're like, well, can't we do it now? That's what we did. And tied writing.
They really enjoyed the.
I was like,
Oh, yeah,
okay.
they go and they do the research
So-
on the project.
Yeah, well, they did.
Oh, they
like
did
the
this?
typing. Yeah.
Oh.
You did the
And-
typing on there, the answering the questions. you
Okay.
did all of that.
I know we
And
said
they
we were
were-
going to introduce
Yeah,
them.
we were gonna wait, but they were like, we've already done this. Can we do it?
So Miss Chris
They were
did
a
that
little
with
bit.
them. That's awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
they were a little bit upset.
She
They're like, no, we're
listened to,
finishing this in pencil.
She went into one of the DBQ
Yeah.
pages now, that's when we were talking about the online, and so then.
So is our goal then for DBQ at the end of it to have them be typing their essays instead of writing them in person, or are we trying to get them to write and type?
Scaffold at the.
Yeah.
They are,
Where do you think they are?
and then push.
Because we know they're not, because they're third grade, so they're not taking like that writing assessment, but it's also not gonna hurt them if they're
Okay.
ready for it. And that might be a decision, like, you know what, if your essay is done, you did it great the first time, you know what, you get to type yours.
Yeah.
You're taking a little bit longer, like try to,
So really just kind of go with how
I would
the
go with
class
each
is
kid
going?
and
Okay,
see,
all
I
right,
mean,
okay.
that's what I would think, I would try to do, yeah. Because it's not gonna hurt them to get that extra typing in, but don't feel like if you're getting down to
Mhm,
yeah,
mhm.
or even like, they write their essay and then you give them a bigger piece of construction paper and they sketch a picture about, like, one of
that'd
the
be
topics
fun,
about the
too.
hurricane, and hang that out in the hallway or whatever you.
That's a great idea
Like the
too.
storm
Have, like
surge,
just
like,
an extra day.
Yeah, to do that, a drawing to go with their hurricane,
That would be nice.
like one of their paragraphs.
Absolutely.
yeah.
They would even come up with a supply list, what do they need?
Oh, that's
Yeah.
a good
Oh, that's a
one
good
too.
one.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Time
things.
ago when we did
Yeah.
that, they would have to, if they did a poster board, I don't think they should do, they have a plan of
Or
activation.
yeah,
Nice,
exactly,
that.
like a flyer, guys, let's make a flyer of how to prep people to get ready for.
That's
That's a
a
good
good
idea,
idea.
especially if we get done with the essays
I
early.
mean,
Yes.
maybe even let them go like PowerPoint or Word.
You can let them choose, like you
Mhm.
can say, you can do it here, here, and here, give them the
Yeah.
option,
Yeah.
and the kids who really wanna type could do typing, the ones who wanna draw a picture could draw a picture, so you get the different types of
Yeah.
modalities in there.
Yeah.
I
That's
like
good.
that.
I like that a lot.
Choice.
I do
Yes.
like that.
Well, great.
Feeling
Good,
good.
guys.
Up with you next week, then?
Yeah.
We'll stop there.
Next Wednesday, because I'll be